Tonight's story takes us back to Arizona, 1864, where a frontier town fought to survive the long, cold nights. When giant bat-like creatures descended from the mountains, the men called it the Night Watch. But one man's wife was bitten, and what came back was no longer human. From the journals of Adobe Ridge, the night the sky learned to scream, welcome to Nightmare Proof, where true horror comes alive. Here, you'll hear real stories of the strange, the disturbing, and the unexplainable. Turn down the lights, get comfortable, and prepare to face the darkness. Does anyone know about the giant bat attacks of Arizona? 1864. Hi, everyone. I wanted to come on here to see if anyone can help me figure something out. I recently found a journal in my grandparents' attic. Apparently, it's from the 1800s or something. It's really old and gross. The reason I need help is because it talks about how he, my great X5, grandfather, had to protect his town from these weird bat things. I don't really understand it, and half of the book is ineligible. So, I'm going to transcribe what I can read and see what you all can determine. Thanks. September 21st, 1864. My family and I have made it to our new homestead in Adobe Ridge, Arizona. A fresh territory developed after the war happened. We wanted a fresh start, especially after the gold rush had died down and wasn't proving to be lucrative anymore. My wife wasn't exactly thrilled to be living in the middle of the desert, but this place was going to be the start of our new life. The house was smaller than the last one, but we can make do. We had enough land to start raising cattle and rebuild ourselves. Plus, we had plenty of space for the children to grow up and start their own lives here. My two boys started running around the place, and my little girl wasn't too thrilled about it. "It's dirty, Papa," she said to me, with a big frown on her face. "Well, sweetheart, you'll get used to. Look at all the room you have to run around and play," I said, as I picked her up and showed her the large field in the town in the distance. "You'll be so distracted with all your new friends and schooling that you won't even notice the dirt." "Okay, Papa," she said with a sigh as I put her down. "Now, go help your mama, and I'll start bringing things in," and before I could even finish, she ran off towards her mother. After a few hours of unloading and getting things into the house, we decided to go into town and introduce ourselves to the locals. The town was a small one, like everyone knew everybody else's business, and that was something we weren't used to. The town had one church, one school, one bank, 2 saloons, and a shop for everything and anything you would need. In the distance, there were large mountain valleys, making it look like one of those paintings you see in saloons. It was a cool autumn night, and most of the town folks were out tonight. Young, families walked down the strip, gentlemen enjoying a cigar with one another, and just a warm feeling in the town. My 3 kids already made friends and were running around hoop-rolling and giggling. My wife and I made our way towards Town Hall to let the mayor know of our arrival. The smell of cigarettes was overwhelming as we walked into his office. His office was really a man's office. Guns lined the mall above a marble mantel, with a lit fire inside the fireplace, a shelf full of books and cigar boxes, paintings of men on horses, and a lot of dark wood furniture. He turned his chair around upon hearing us enter. The mayor was a tall, broad man. He wore an open black reefer jacket, with a brown plaid vest and matching trousers, with short black leather boots. His hair was greased back, black, with long mutton chops. I'm going to try and remember everything that was said during this conversation. "Welcome to Adobe Ridge. I'm Mr. Gregory Henshaw, but y'all can call me Greg." He shook my hand with a lot of force. "It's a pleasure y'all choose our tiny town to settle down in. We haven't had a cattle farmer in a while. Please take a seat. We must have a unpleasant conversation." My wife shot a concerned glance my way. I shrugged as we sat in the large black leather seats opposite Greg. "Mr. and Mrs. Donahue, I do have to let you know about some of the procedures that happen in our town to keep our town safe at night, especially during the change of the season. The colder temperatures bring out the worst of creatures seeking warmth." He began discussing how all the men in town had to join the Night Watch. Groups of 4 men in town have to watch distinct parts and shoot anything trying to come in. I thought it was strange, but rules are rules. My wife thought it was a major inconvenience that on our first night moving into town, I was already given a group. I reassured her that these are just the way things are, and I'm glad I can protect my family and my cattle. I owned 2 guns. Besides the ring on my wife's finger, they were the most expensive things I have. My first is a .42 caliber Lemot revolver, silver with a black leather handle. The second is a standard Smith & Wesson shotgun. Every man had to have 1 shotgun and at least 1 other gun of choice. I looked like some sort of gunslinger every night. The sun just went past the horizon, so I'll try and write about my experience later. October 5th, 1864. I just got enough time to sit and write alone. And I honestly didn't know what I was getting myself into. Now, I've seen my share of strange beasts out on the trail, mountain cats with fire in their eyes, wolves bold enough to walk into my ranch, but there's something out there that don't sit right with nature. Big as a man, wings like stretched leather sails. This creature, some call it a bat, though that don't seem to do it justice. Moves through the sky like a shadow with purpose. Ain't no flittin' or flutterin' about it. When it passes overhead, the wind drops, and the horses get restless. You feel it before you see it. Its eyes catch the moonlight, red like coals in a dying fire. Teeth like curved needles. Far too many for any honest animal. I once saw it descend on a wild dog, and by the time I reached the clearing, there wasn't much left but bone and silence. Dreadful sight. They say it roosts in caves deep in the hills, places where the earth itself feels wrong. Freezing air comes out of those cracks no matter the weather. But they come out to feast during the change of the season, to feed. Father McCormick told me these beasts sleep until night begins to overtake the day, and these things are bound to darkness. Something the devil cursed the land with, according to most of the men in town. I don't know what to do. I'm scared to leave my homestead, because it was a long journey to get to this town. It was the cheapest option, and my kids love it. Here. But every night, when we go out into the darkness, with nothing but a lantern and our guns, I'm scared they'll swoop into my house and take the ones I love. Russell, one of the local guys who frequently gets paired with me, says he fears every night for his wife. He reassures himself that he's not only making sure she's safe, but every other woman in town. I love my wife. I love my kids. I know, as a father and a husband, I wouldn't want to feel the pain of losing them. I'll try and take his advice and remind myself of the greater good. That's what Greg says before turning us to our stations. Protection! For the greater good! The greater good. October 18th, 1864. The sun is currently rising. I've had one of the worst nights I could ever imagine a man having. I've calmed myself down enough to write about it. This journal can be used as a warning to those who come after me. I don't know. The night started off as any other night. All the guys meeting up at town. A hall, getting put into our groups. A long speech from Greg. The greater good, blah, blah, blah. Then we all split into our sections. Tonight, I was with Russell, a younger man named Nicholas, and Father McCormick. We were given the section closest to my house tonight, which isn't new. I've been stationed there before. Since I've been on night watch, I've only killed 2 of the damned things. They flap around and blend into the night sky. You have to be quick enough to notice where the stars aren't to get a good shot. Father McCormick is a good shot for a holy man. Russell is good at spotting him up there. And Nicholas, he's present. I'm still trying to get over my fear of them, because I get a good aim, and then they shriek. This god-awful noise. It sounds like a high-pitched, loud squeal, like a pig being slaughtered. Even writing this, I get chicken skin. The 4 of us walked on the outskirts of my ranch. A few cows grazing, the sound of different critters and bugs, filled the night. We didn't talk much during the watch, but Nicholas was a chatty man. So, how many of these devils have y'all killed? Nicholas said, leaning on my fence. 18, Father McCormick said. 21, Russell said. 2, I mumbled. I was gonna be honest with the man. No need to lie to someone who was, supposedly, watching your back. 2? Goddamn, Walter. Are you even aiming? He was laughing his ass off, being a jackass. So, what if I've only killed 2? Does it matter? We're all protecting our land and our people. We're all doing the same job. Father McCormick walked off, following the fence to the west. Russell and Nicholas began arguing about what type of gun was better to kill them with. I chose to stay out of it and keep watching the sky. It wasn't a quiet night. 2 groups closer to the church got attacked by a swarm of them. Nicholas wanted to go help, but the rules state, if a group is getting attacked by a swarm, do not leave your post. The less men we lost, the better. Y'all are a bunch of wussies. I'm going to help. Those were the last words he said. As he began to stomp off, a giant, furry, black beast swoops down, picks him up, and flees a few yards away. Another bat smashes into the one carrying Nicholas and drops him. All of us began running towards him as one dived down and pinned him down to the ground. He began to scream for help, his mother, for God to come down and save him. The other one flew down and began to feast on Nicholas. The sound of flesh ripping became all I could hear. Russell yells something I don't understand during all the commotion. Father McCormick came running past me with his pistol drawn. The 2 men begin to fire at the creatures. The creatures scream as their blood gets mixed into the pile of flesh that used to be Nicholas. They both fly away and leave the bloody scene before us. We approached the body before us and kneeled. Those bastards ripped him open, exposing his innards and leaving nothing but scraps behind. He was laying there, motionless, blood coming out of his mouth, nose, eyes. Father McCormick began to pray over him. Russell sat and joined in the prayer. All I could do was stare at his eyes, wide open with fear. We had to drag his body to the back of the church. That's where we take all of those we lost in the night. Tonight was bad. Including Nicholas, we have lost 5 men. 2 were injured. Hopefully they can recover. While we discussed our plan for the rest of the night, I heard a woman scream coming from the distance. My heart sank. We left my ranch unsupervised. I sprinted faster than any human could run. I heard another scream and a gunshot. I ran faster. I didn't know who was behind me and I didn't care. I needed to make sure my family was safe. My wife was standing on the porch with a shotgun and blasting away one of those creatures. She was bleeding from her shoulder and yelling at the bat to leave our children alone. I loaded up my revolver and began shooting rapidly at the thing. It dropped dead with a blood-curdling shriek. I ran up to my wife as she dropped the gun to the floor and fainted. Father McCormick was running behind me. I yelled at him to get my kids as I grabbed my wife. That damn thing took a bite of her shoulder. She was bleeding a lot. I scooped her into my arms and carried her to the doctor. I was crying and telling her everything was going to be okay, holding her hand as the doctor cleaned her wounds. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. She squeezed my hand and whispered to me, "Are the kids okay?" Yes, my love. I'm so proud of you, darling." I sat there holding her hand and kissing her head all night long. My children were kept safe by my wife. She's the strongest and bravest woman I know. She faced the devil head on and kept our family safe. I thank God every night that he blessed me with this wonderful woman. She's been asleep for a few hours now. The doctor said the bite would heal in a week and keep watch for any signs of infection. My kids are cuddled up next to her in bed, next to our fireplace. I haven't been able to sleep since we got home. I've been sitting facing the door to make sure none of those things get back here. I'll write again when I have time. Hey guys, it's me, the person uploading this. The next few entries are short and don't really talk about much besides cows, his kids starting school, and a lot of drawings. Some are different sketches of the bats, a few portraits of his wife, a map of the town, and random doodles. It took me a while to transcribe the next few pages because the book had a bit of water damage. November 19th, 1864. My wife has fallen ill. She's been running a fever for weeks. Complaining of splitting headaches, sweating like she was a sinner in church, and talking of how it was too bright out. Every night when I go on patrol, I can hear her yowling in pain, screaming for me to come home. Every night she gets worse and worse. Sleeping during the day, waking up to vomit. It breaks my heart seeing her in this much pain. My sweet, loving wife, turning into this small, sick, violent shell. The doctors are giving her every medicine in town. They don't think it's any sort of normal fever. I think it's that damn bat, but they keep saying it's just a sickness with the weather change. I need to figure something out. I know my wife isn't sick from no damn fever. I've seen her feverish after she had Isaiah. This ain't anything like it. This is a devil's sickness, and I swear to everything holy I will help my wife. November 21st, 1864. I brought Father McCormick into the house to see if he could help her. Darla was having a particularly difficult day. She began developing these rashes all over her body. She would scratch and pick them till they bled. I would tell her to stop, that it was hurting her, but she would scream at me about how she needed to get her new skin. She's hollering at all hours of the night, cursing, taking the Lord's name in vain, spitting at our children, biting at anyone who got close to her. She's delusional. Father McCormick arrived with 2 other clergymen around noon and planned on seeing if her symptoms had been caused by anything they could get rid of. I am not going to lie in this journal. I'm getting scared of my wife. The woman lying in my bed was not my sweet Darla, but some crazed woman. Father McCormick and his 2 partners began examining my wife, reading scriptures to her, splashing holy water on her, doing a whole bunch of things to her. Her reactions: she would shake and spit, speak in a voice that wasn't her own, say the nastiest things to Father McCormick. When they threw the holy water on her, I swear I could see her skin start to burn. She was throwing up this strange liquid, a thick mush of black. Her eyes were bloodshot, and the color of her eye changed from the moss green I loved to a dirty yellow color. I was devastated. "I'm sorry, Walter, but there isn't much we can do," Father said. "Please, Aaron, you're my last hope here. Walter, your wife is sick. Very, very sick. I think it's time to start getting her affairs in order." Father McCormick gathered his things and left with the 2 men. It was just me and my wife, alone. I sat in a chair in the corner of the room watching my wife. How could I have let this happen? I was supposed to protect my family. In my vows, I promised to love her and be with her through sickness and health. But this is my fault. I left her alone. If Nicholas never ran off, none of this would have happened. Darla, my darling star. She would light up a room anytime she walked in. Her laugh, her smile, the way she would hold my hand during Sunday service. My children don't have a mother. I need to fix this. November 27th, 1864. Mayor Henshaw is a dead man. I confronted him about the effect those bastards had on my wife, and he said there isn't anything he can do. That little rat bastard went on a whole tangent about how these creatures are a burden to everyone in this town, and one life is better than losing a whole town. I was yelling and cussing up a storm in that office. I hope the town heard me. My wife was not just one life, that's my goddamn wife. I'll try and write down what I can remember from the conversation. How would you feel if your wife was slowly becoming a monster? Huh? Right in front of you over days. My children don't have a mother no more, Henshaw. And all your selfish ass can think about is the greater good. I don't give a rat's ass about my wife died, Walter. Henshaw lit a cigarette and just looked at me. She heard some funny noises outside one night. No one was around because we had a swarm try and attack all our cattle. So, being the headstrong woman she was, she grabbed a shotgun off the mantel to go investigate. I heard her screams. I ran as fast as I could, but it was too late. She was ripped in 2, with her insides hanging out of her. The bats flew off with her legs, and she just lay there, eyes wide with fear, covered in blood. Walter, you're lucky your wife is still alive. I pray every night she gets better, but do not come to my office and talk about me being selfish. I've done everything for this town, and so has my daddy and his daddy before him. Walter, I believe it to be smart if you left my office and spent what time you have with your wife. God bless. Sorry for your loss, Greg. God bless. I walked out of that office with such a heavy feeling. Too many feelings, to be honest. Dread, anger, sadness, fear, and vengeance. I was going to figure out how to help my wife. Whether or not anyone was going to help me. I, and I alone, was going to save my wife. December, 5 hours, 1864. The days since I last rode in here have been, to say the least, detrimental. Yesterday was like hell on earth. My wife was close to death for many days. I couldn't bear my kids watching, so I sent them to stay at Russell's home. His wife is sweet and has been extremely helpful with the children during all of this. Thank you, Suzanne. Darla looked terrible. Her skin was peeling off in chunks. Underneath was this hairy, leathery skin. Her hair was falling out of her head. Plus, her eyes now looked as if they were filled with blood. She was throwing up more of that black goop, with what I think is chunks of something. At night, she was worse. She was talking about how she had to go out and go to the mountains. Last night, I had to go back and join the night watch. One of the men injured his leg chasing one of the bats, and they needed someone to replace him. Russell and I were paired up with the twins who own the saloons. We had to watch over the town hall tonight. Watching the mountains made me feel uneasy, wondering why my wife felt so compelled to go. Russell and Tom, he owns Barrelwood Saloon, discussed business, while James, he owns the Stool Saloon, was trying to get me to talk about anything, really. I don't want to talk, James. I get it, Walt. I'm sorry about your wife, he mumbled. It felt like hours, just watching. It was strange. Nothing was happening. It was silent, eerily silent. Not even the bugs were chirping. This isn't right, Russell said. Something's wrong, Tom said. At that same moment, a scream rang out from beyond the mountains, followed by a scream coming from town. I immediately knew that scream belonged to my wife. I ran off from our post to make sure my wife was safe. When I got closer to our road, I noticed bodies. I know a small group was stationed there to watch my wife. The two gentlemen were mutilated. One of them had their head completely taken off, with his stomach slashed open and legs broken. The other man was missing his eyes, like they were clawed out. His arms had bite marks and chunks of skin ripped off. His stomach and groin area was completely gone, looked like ribbons tied to a man. I fought the urge to vomit as I heard a high-pitched screech come from my house, followed by sounds of cattle bellowing. I ran off and stopped in my tracks when I saw what was in front of me. It was Darla. Her body seemed longer, her arms covered with blood. Long claws came from her fingertips. She snapped her head in my direction. I was frozen. Her face was changing in front of me. Her eyes were burning yellow, like a high, burning fire. Hair began to sprout all over her body, mahogany brown fur covering her entire body. Her entire head was changing shape. Her nose and mouth started to shift into a long, snout-like nose, and her mouth became long and wide. Rows of long, sharp teeth coming out of her mouth in an instant. Her arms began to bend and snap as they grew. Her chest burst open as her ribs grew and broke. The skin of her lungs ripped in half, moving quickly to form a large pair of translucent wings, cracking and popping into scent. Place! Shrieking a distorted yell. Her own cries for help mushed together with the scream of the bat coming out of her. Her legs broke, loudly cracking and shifting into themselves, shrinking into her body. Screaming and crying, my wife was transforming into one of them. She looked at me. A blood-curdling scream came out of her, blood and drool dripping from her fangs. Her body was still cracking and snapping back into place as she crawled towards me, growing as she got closer. The wet sounds of her organs reforming in her body, mixed with the snapping sound of her bones, filled the air. For the greater good. I lifted my shotgun and took aim at Darla. She was snarling at me, waiting for me to make the next move. Time seemed to stop. Memories of my life together with her flashed before my eyes. When I met her as a child, passing notes during Sunday school, when I asked her to marry me when we were 16, at our wedding, finding out she was with child, every night where I get fall asleep next to her, and every morning when the first thing I get to see is her beautiful face, I began to cry. I have to think of my children. I have to think about the life they can live. I cocked my shotgun. She started crawling at me at a speed that shouldn't be possible. I love you, Darla. I pulled the trigger. A chunk of her head went with the bullet, yet she still crawled toward me. I began screaming at her, tears streaming down my face. I shot her again, hitting the rest of her head. Her body moved a few more feet, then fell to the ground with a wet thud. I fell to my knees and just looked at her. My wife was dead the day she was bit. For weeks, that wasn't my wife lying in bed. It was one of them. Russell and the twins caught up to me. James threw up at the sight of the dead thing in front of me. Tom went to get others. Russell just kneeled next to me and said nothing. He put a hand on my shoulder and looked at me. The greater good. I nodded. Darla Donahue was an amazing wife. She taught our children grace and kindness. She wanted to be a school teacher ever since she was a child. She loved reading poetry and taking long walks when it got cool outside. She always thought the way I mounted my horse was silly. She didn't like the taste of pig. I love her with all my heart. I'll miss her every day. December 6th, 1864. It's almost sunset. Most folks think I've gone insane. I need to kill those bats. I've seen where they come out in the mountains. I need to go to the source and take care of the plague that's taken everything from me. Russell and Suzanne agreed to take in my children until I come back. Leaving my kids is a challenging thing for me to do, but I can't go on with my life until every last one of those damn things are dead. I packed enough ammo to kill a battalion. Food for a week, water for longer. I don't know how long I'll be. I would never have come to this town if it meant I would lose the one thing that made my life worth living. I'm not going to stop until every last one of them things are dead. I don't care if I have to go to hell itself. Hopefully, I can find some answers and free Adobe Ridge from the grips of the bats. I'll write again once I return from the cave. Thank you for watching Nightmare Proof. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to keep the nightmares alive. Have a story of your own? Send it in and you may hear it here next time. Until then, sleep well if you can.